Welcome to Haunt Weekly.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this is Haunt Weekly, a weekly podcast for the haunted attraction and haunted entertainment community. Whether you're an actor, owner, or just plain aficionado, we aim to be a podcast for you. And we return to you once again. If you're catching us live, it's on a Sunday. You catch us as it goes up. Normally, it's a Monday. But whenever you're listening to us, thank you very much for joining us. And definitely do take a quick minute to check out all the other stuff we've done for this. All 292 other episodes. You can find them at hauntweekly.com, Haunt Weekly on Facebook, Haunt Weekly on Twitter, youtube.com/hauntweekly is the YouTube channel. Every single episode is available there. So you can go back to the entire archives at your leisure. You can also find us at iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And please do feel free. Facebook.com/hauntweekly, Sunday at 8 p.m. Come join us, be a part of the show, join us in the chat, have your say, maybe even get mentioned. You never know. We're just unpredictable like that.
Well, I mean, it's pretty predictable. If you answer the question, you will get a mention.
That is true. That's actually true. Yeah.
That is, you know.
All right. Well, we got a very full episode this week. Actually, we're actually doing something that dovetails on what was technically 2 episodes ago, but was the last of our normal episodes.
Right.
This is communication for haunters this week. Now, last time we discussed event planning for haunters, and one of the big things we harped on was the importance of communication, but we didn't really jump into it deeply and how to make it effective. We offered some tips that we're going to repeat today. Talked about a few things, but yeah, we realized that actually was kind of an episode unto itself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ground to cover here, so we're going to try to get through it. But first things first, we have some housekeeping notes.
We do.
Right off the bat, we need your help, peoples of the internet, because we're coming upon episode 300 super fast. We know we want to have a panel with some of the guests.
Yeah.
We're going to start doing outreach on that very shortly. But what else should we do?
Yeah, we've gotten some suggestions before when this was a question of the week, but we want to know, are there any thing that you would like us to do? Would you like us to do a live Q&A or
what ideas do you have for episode 300? I'm curious, and it's kind of weird because like we did episode 100 pretty big.
I don't remember.
I don't either anymore, but I thought we did it big, and I
thought we missed all of them.
No, I don't think we missed all of them. I know we did something for 100 and 200, just not anything big. We want to actually remedy that this time around, because it's not every day you hit episode 300 of a podcast.
Right.
So yes, please, ideas for episode 300. You can leave it at any of those social media places I sent. Please leave your thoughts there.
Mm-hmm.
Second, housekeeping note, we will not have a live podcast next week.
Right.
We'll be on vacation, actually.
Yeah.
We will be heading to the St. Louis area.
Mm-hmm.
Family visit.
Yeah.
Normally, this is where I would say, if you're in the St. Louis area, hit us up if you want to meet, but not this trip. This trip is super tight.
Yeah, it is, and we've got lots of stuff planned, and we haven't seen them for over a year and a half.
So yeah, we kind of want to keep this to family, just this trip. But hopefully now that pandemic life is ending, we're all vaccinated, and we're looking at doing more traveling, we'll be in the area again soon, because we do have family there. We have reasons to go to that area. So please, in the future, if you want to do something or you got an idea, I'd love to participate and love to hang out, but not this trip. This trip, like I said, we got stuff we got to do for family.
Yes. However, on the way up, we are in the Memphis area for one night. If you know of anything cool to do in Memphis, let us know, because we're looking for stuff, and that doesn't seem to be a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, I've spent a little time in Memphis. I did a conference there once, and I've been on Beale Street. I've been in, that environment, and it's cool, but I think we can do better.
Yeah,
is what I'm trying to say. I think we can do better in Beale Street as far as stuff to do, because it's like it's their version of Bourbon Street, except it's Let me be frank, it's less than Bourbon Street. It just is.
Nowhere is like the French Quarter.
Nowhere's like the French Quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and basically, it's all right. It was fun. I didn't have a bad time or anything. It's just I've got Bourbon Street here. I want something else. I want a new experience.
Yes.
And don't tell me to go to the goddamned Bass Pro Shop.
No. If there's like a weird museum or anything historical.
Yeah, weird museum
that we need to see.
Actually, weird museum is about perfect. If
Exactly.
you know of an interesting and unusual museum in the Memphis area, let us know.
Yeah.
So we're looking for a way to kill one, maybe 2 nights, because we might be hitting it on the way back too.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting thoughts there. I would love to hear them if you know anything about the Memphis area.
Yeah.
On that note, we will not be doing a live podcast. We will be recording.
Yes.
And we'll be recording probably before we leave. We may do a surprise go live on Tuesday. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not promising that, and the reason is because we'll be involved in trip prep.
Right. And, the intention is to record it before we leave, but that might not be the reality.
Yeah. Because we've got a lot to do. We leave Thursday morning.
Yeah.
And we arrive the next Wednesday evening.
Friday.
We get back home. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
On Wednesday of next week.
Yeah.
And then I get to go right into some doctor's appointments. That'll be a lot of fun.
I get to go into 2 days of all-day training.
Joy. Just joy. But yeah, so we're gonna be dealing with that.
Mm-hmm.
But so we will not be doing a live one. We'll probably just record it here. That's the goal, and then have it up on the usual time on Monday. I'll set it to go live.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and the main thing is we just couldn't schlep all this equipment to do the live podcast, and we couldn't guarantee we'd have internet access stable enough to let us do it. Because we don't know what the Wi-Fi access at the hotel is going to be like.
Yeah.
You never know. It's
Exactly.
a nice hotel we're staying at, but you never know what the Wi-Fi is going to be like. The best hotel Wi-Fi I ever had was also at the worst hotel I've ever stayed at. I'm not kidding.
True.
Drug dealers and prostitutes do not use a lot of Wi-Fi, is what I learned.
Yes.
I swear to God, I had damn near gigabit download speeds there. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. But I also didn't want to sleep in a tub.
Yeah.
So, anyways. No live podcast next week. We'll return the week after. All right, that brings us to the question of the week this week. And this is another kind of housekeeping thing.
It is.
But it's a very important one. It's been a topic of conversation around here.
Mm-hmm.
The question of the week is, should we restart conference reminders? Now, those who knew us in the before COVID times, every episode, or at least most episodes, if we didn't have a guest on, we would do them. We would do conference reminders, like we'll talk about the next 6 haunted attraction related conferences coming up. And it was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed doing it. We had one of the best calendars for haunted attraction conventions and events.
Mm-hmm.
But when COVID came and everything started getting just cancel, close, cancel, close, it just got to be too depressing.
Yeah.
We stopped doing it.
Yeah.
Because it felt like all we were reporting on was conferences closing shop.
Exactly. We have no idea what's even coming up right now because we just turned off that part of our brain.
Yeah, we literally stopped watching it because it was, once again, too damn depressing.
Yeah.
And the news was all the same.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at the possibility of restarting them.
Yes.
Go ahead.
But we're also looking at the possibility of a different format for them. Instead of every episode, what about fewer? What about just news episodes or the first of the month?
Episodes tend to run a little short anyway, so that can be an extra news bit to include as the conference reminders at the beginning of each
for
one.
For the next
and that way,
2 months.
Every 4 weeks, we're talking about the next few months' worth of conferences.
Yeah.
And helping promote upcoming events, because we loved doing it. And now that Midwest Haunters Convention and Trans World both happen, and I think the Hunters Against Hate event.
Yeah, it's happening at the end of July.
Yeah, it is going forward.
Yes, it's the 29th through the 1st, I believe.
Yeah. So with all these, so obviously conferences are happening again. Does it make sense to do that? Was that something that you found useful when we did it the first time?
Yeah.
Is it something that you would enjoy this time around? If so, how often should we do it? Should we do it once a month? Is that enough? Or do we need to do it every episode? Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm very curious. What you have to say about them. We already got a few people chiming in, it looks like.
Yes.
Which is good. Glad to see there's passion for this subject, because it's been a topic around here.
Mm-hmm.
Because Because it wasn't like an insane amount of work to keep track of,
No,
but you did have to every
it got
week.
repetitive.
It did. It did get repetitive. And like I said, it's something that I think we can.
But I do think it's useful.
I do think it's useful. And the thing is, we found conferences and conventions, and some of them were like the conference organizers wrote us and said, hey, we've got this thing in some random state and it's going on. And that campground one that we reported on for a while, it was happening in summer sometime.
Yeah.
That was really a weird, interesting, the camp out event for haunters.
Yeah, we know people who went to that.
Yeah, and it was really cool. And we kept finding about all these weird little events like that were not the big conferences.
Right.
And that's one of the things we really wanted to focus on, because everyone knows when Trans World is. We're not idiots. Everyone knows when Trans World and HauntCon, Midwest Haunted Convention, they know when the big ones are. And we mention them, but we really like the fact we can put the spotlight on smaller events that maybe you didn't hear about. You didn't know,
Mm-hmm.
All right, anyway. Moving on, communication. Yes, this basically last 2 weeks ago, we had a news episode in there.
Right.
We did an episode about event planning for haunters, because you were on the heels at the time of one of your big annual events.
Right.
And you were very much in the post-mortem of that event.
I was, because it was the first time helping to run it, and there were a lot of issues.
Yeah, it was...
It's being called a success. I'm getting a success lunch tomorrow, but, you know.
That's tomorrow?
Yep.
Sweet. No, I mean, okay, it was a success in that no one died, and that the actual events themselves largely went off without a problem.
Yes.
But there were issues with various aspects around it.
Yeah.
That was what prompted us to say, well, maybe we should apply those same lessons to haunters, because we both have a lot of event planning experience.
Yeah, and running a haunt is an event.
It is. It's literally, by the very definition, an event.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that got us thinking, though, because when we discussed a lot about communication, and we mentioned a few rules, really it's a need for a deep dive, because communication is the lifeblood of a haunt.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's probably the most important thing in a haunt, is having good, solid communication. Because if your communication breaks down, the haunt breaks down, everything breaks down. Right.
And this week we're going to be focusing more on the communication within the haunt, not necessarily communication with your customers at large.
That's PR, that's marketing, that's advertising.
We've done episodes on that. Go listen to those.
Tons of episodes on those topics. There are things. My degree's in advertising, so of course I'm going to want to talk about advertising for haunters. But no, here we're talking about within your specific haunt, and specifically we're talking about two separate groups there. Really, we're talking about your core group, the build team, the people that are on it year round,
and the people that run the business side of it.
The people that run the business side, and the actors that are seasonal and come in for 1 to 2 months out of the year, act, and then oftentimes just naff off and go elsewhere. So yeah, basically, and we're also because we got those two groups, we're thinking about it in 3 different time frames: year round, including off season. During the season itself, during the window that you're between just before you open and just after you close for the season, that window there.
Yeah.
And then during the event itself, when the haunt is actively open, because that is when communication is both the most difficult and the most important.
Exactly.
So we're going to be ending up on that one. So anyways, first, a few general rules. These are just good ideas that should always be there. First, and we mentioned this in the previous episode.
We did.
But it's a good one to repeat. Have 2 ways to contact every person and 2 people to contact about everything.
Exactly.
So that means if I want to talk to you about a permit issue,
right,
for example, I should have 4 ways to get in touch with the haunt, 2 people, 2 methods.
Yes.
That could be email and phone.
Right.
It could be text. It could be literally anything but 2 ways.
Exactly. And, you want to be able to get both the assistant for the permitting person and the permitting person themselves.
Yeah. Because you don't know who is necessarily going to be able to respond first is one of the challenges.
Yeah. Or who's going to be on vacation when.
or who just might have a communication breakdown of some other problem.
Exactly.
Maybe their phone got yeeted into the river or something, you know?
Yeah, phones die.
Phones die.
They get broken.
They do that.
Lost.
Especially around Ellie's son. But yes.
Jab, jab.
Jab, jab, jab. Yes. So yeah. Basically, email, text, Facebook, proprietary services are the big ways to maintain communication. Calling, too, I guess, would be on that list, though a lot of people, myself included, really are not phone call people.
Yeah.
I don't like phone calls.
But the bigger the business, the more likely you're going to have those phone numbers.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to be using them as a phone,
yes.
not just as the text.
Right.
Second, have all that information in an official repository that can be accessed by anyone that might need it.
Exactly.
Typically, I would say zone managers and above in the organization need to have access to that. Because zone managers need to be able to contact the actors they're managing.
Right.
And everyone else needs those numbers too.
Yeah.
That information.
Yeah, and you may want to consider some sort of release if you're going to spread it out wider than that to the other actors, because some people are iffy about sharing their personal information with people they work with.
I don't think it's wise to give every actor, especially if you have a very large haunt.
Yeah.
Like if you have a smaller one, only like a dozen people, then that's probably not a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a large haunt with hundreds of people, yeah, you don't want everyone to have everyone's contact information.
Right.
That can create some serious problems. What happens if someone starts using that information to stalk a person? So control it. Who needs to have it has access to it immediately.
Right.
But control it beyond that.
Yes. Google Docs and stuff are like great for this kind of thing.
Yeah, you can literally restrict access to a spreadsheet or a Word doc or whatever to just certain people or people at a certain level. You can create it so that there's tiers within the company, and this is admins and above have access to it or whatever.
Exactly.
So you can do that, and please do use those access controls. They're very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Second, next up, exploit technology heavily.
Yes.
People I get it. I'm an old fogey too. I like my texting. I like my, I like my older methods of communication. Mm-hmm. But I have to acknowledge that there's a lot of power in technologies, including proprietary solutions.
One of the big ones is a shared calendar.
Yeah.
Like
this is such a simple thing.
It is. And it's something that we're really bad at, actually. Yeah. Like even within our home. But whenever we do use them, they're very useful. Yeah. Because you can put deliveries and inspection dates and meetings and trainings and due dates and all of that on there, and it'll automatically send it to whoever you invite.
Yeah.
They will get reminders.
Yeah, a shared calendar is super powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And especially, once again, using something like Google Docs. And we're mentioning Google in this case because of what we're most familiar with.
Right.
But you can also, once again, say, okay, this goes to all admins. This goes to all managers. This goes to all...
Yeah. Outlook has this feature, too. If you're big enough that you have an Outlook license for everybody in the company, then that's something you can... If that's what you're comfortable with, then use that. Yeah.
But Google Docs is what but G Suite, as it's called now, is what we're most familiar with, what we use, and what we love.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, basically, the shared calendars, it's so handy, and it's one of those things that just in having 3 people in the house has prevented so much confusion. If your event is not on our Google Calendar in this household, it doesn't exist.
Yes, and then you will get chided.
Yes. Like we would even, I think for a time there, we even had a recurring event for ladies' night at the local bar.
And our knitting chat, our crafting group.
Our crafting group, we have that, the recurring deals for that. So yeah. But also do consider Joy golly willikers, that's a hard word right there.
Oh God.
proprietary communication tools, Microsoft Teams, Slack, Discord, G Suite, Facebook workplace groups are all potentially powerful tools. Very useful with that core staff that we were talking about.
Right.
Where you can share information very quickly, have those shared calendars, send messages to each other, have groups that meet. It's so powerful. Even if your core team is not very big, like say it's only 4 or 5 people, this can be great because you can break it out. Like we have, Crystal and I have separate chats for different things we do. We have one just for the links for the news.
Exactly.
We have a messaging chat. We use Signal. We use Signal for this.
Yeah.
But basically, we have a chat. It's just the two of us.
Yeah.
Where we dump haunt links.
Yeah.
We have another chat, once again, just the two of us, where we talk about haunt ideas and
exactly.
haunt work. And that way, when we need to find those things, we go to that specific chat or group. That's something these proprietary tools can give you, is not just necessarily better communication with a large group, but organizing the different topics that you have to discuss with a small group.
Right. And there are some ways and some of these calendars that do integrate with Gantt charts, which we talked about on the previous.
We talked about that very heavily last episode.
Yeah.
So do consider that. So get all that taken care of. And just remember that these proprietary solutions are going to be less useful with your actors and your seasonal employees. And we'll get into why in just a minute. However, as great as technology is, remember to always have a backup. That's going to be the goddamn theme.
Yeah.
Communication, you need 2 lines at all times.
Yeah.
So if you have a high-tech one, like you're using Microsoft Teams or Slack or something, also have something very low-tech. It can be text messaging. I know text messaging isn't necessarily the lowest tech thing, but it's a very base-level technology. Pretty much every cell phone has it.
Right.
So you know that if you've got the person has a cell phone, they have access to text messaging.
Yeah.
At least to be able to read them, even if they're even if they're like your dad's old dumb
exactly
phone,
what I was thinking.
He can't really send them.
He can't send text, but he can receive them.
He can receive them and he can read them, and and then that works fine. It works fine for him. He's happy, and that's the main thing.
Yeah.
All right. So year-round communication. Let's start by looking at this on the macro level. With your core crew, you need to find a solution that works best for you. And this is going to be kind of difficult. We've already mentioned several services like Teams and Slack. Many of those services have free plans or extended free trials, so you can test them.
Right.
Get everyone on the same page, get everyone in the same app. But with your core team, you have a lot more flexibility because the number is smaller and you have a much tighter relationship with them. So you can encourage them or even require them to download and install apps that enable this.
Right.
It's much easier to do that with 6 people than 600.
Yeah. Definitely.
Just to give an extreme example.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, this is where you make your investments. This is where your core team. This is where the Gantt charts go. This is where the shared calendars go. This is where you put all that energy into your communication, because it's very important that communication in particular remain uninterrupted and be year-round. When you're going to do a build day, you need to know who has to go there, or when you have a big deadline for a permit or for something else.
Yeah, who's available.
And who's necessary,
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, this is the most important communication, and I really do think this is where you invest your time and your money as far as spending on communication. Proprietary solutions here like Slack or Teams can go a long way. Like I said, not only do they help organize communication with large groups like they're designed to do, but they help organize lots of different communication needs or different topics with a small group.
Yeah. Because, we have a chat with all 3 of us that are household. We have chats with individual people who work in the haunt that are on different teams for us. We have the overarching chat with all of us.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to be able to break down into the different groups and still have connection with everybody at once also.
Yeah. It's super powerful. And the ability to have this breakout where you have a chat that is just one topic. Like you could have a marketing chat. You could have a social media chat where you're talking about what needs to go up on social media next. You
Build
can break
team.
all these things out
Yep.
into separate chats. And that way, only the people that need to be there are there.
Yes.
So you're not bothering the people that don't have shit to do with it.
Right.
And when you need to find that information, you know exactly where to go. It's in the archive, in the correct chat. It's so great.
Yeah.
So yeah. But when you get with your actors, this is where you have to be a little more flexible. With your actors, you want to go for especially for year-round communication.
Right.
You want to be where they are organically. Find out what your actors use. Take a survey. Have them fill out a survey. Say, what services do you use? Do you use Facebook? Do you use Signal? Do you use
Discord?
What do you use? What do you use already? What do you have and are familiar with? And find out where your actors are and try to be in that space. It's kind of the opposite of what you're doing with your close-knit team, where you're trying to find an absolute peak solution and just push everyone into using it.
Right.
Because, like I said, you can do that with 6 people that are very close-knit, but actors, that's a huge ask.
It is.
Because if you say, okay, everyone install the Microsoft Teams app, they're not all going to do it. I'm telling you now.
No.
They're not all. And some of those that do, since this is all they use it for, they're going to turn off notifications. They're going to uninstall it. You know what I mean? They're going to ignore it.
Well, and this is a problem that we have at my work, because students have the student email address that they get through where I work, but they also have their personal address.
Yeah.
They never check their school address, ever.
Yeah, when I was in college, and this is going back 98 to 2002, so a while back, but I got an email address from the university.
Yeah.
I've never once seen the inside of it.
I'm pretty sure it's probably active.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it probably is too. I've never seen the inside of it.
That's probably where your alumni emails are being sent.
Well, good, fuck them. I don't want to join the Alumni Association. They got their fucking money from me. They're not getting anything else. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Fuck those alumni people.
Yeah, but if they had your personal address, then they could reach out to you that way.
Oh, no.
But they don't have your email address.
No, they found my fucking phone number, I'll tell you that much.
And occasionally they'll send something in the mail.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't know how the hell they found me. I moved like 6 times and never left them forwarding information, but sure enough, every goddamn time I go to a new house, there's a fucking alumni package waiting on me. Care to join the Alumni Association? No. Jesus, no. Hell no.
Well, I know why they target you. Because you're a sole proprietor.
I'm a sole proprietor, and also I'm 3rd generation alumnus.
Yeah.
So those two things are why I'm so heavily targeted. They haven't actually reached out to me in a while. I'm getting a little hurt. Maybe finally got the fucking head. I don't know.
God.
But anyway, so yeah, you got to be where they are. Texting really is the baseline.
Yes.
Everyone that has a cell phone has access to texting, so that really is the baseline. Most people will also have phone because they have phones, and most people will have email.
Right.
Those are the 3 things you can be reasonably sure every person that you work with has. And so they are the baseline. They are the most important methods of communication I have available because they are the least likely to break down, too.
Right.
That said, as you just noted, each of them can be defeated, but people don't check their messages.
Exactly.
And there are people that, like, I know you miss text messages all the time.
Yeah, because I get busy at work and then I have to catch up later.
Well, you get busy at work and you have several text chats in this household and work text chats, and so it's easy for things just to go
exactly
right to the bottom. I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
You've shown it to me. It's like, no, your text is all the way down here and like number 12.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. But basically, find out where they are organically and ask them, because you just can't ask your actors to install a messaging service for you for a seasonal part-time job.
Right.
It's just that's just it. You have to realize that, this is a big deal. We love doing it, I'm sure, but ultimately it is a seasonal part-time job. They're not going to likely keep an app year-round on their phone to keep in contact with you, so you've got to be where they are. With your core team, your communication should be near constant year-round. If things are happening in the haunt, you should be communicating. It's that simple. And with your actors, I say try to touch at least once a month during the off-season. You know, you don't want to communicate too often.
Right.
But you don't want to lose contact either. And we're bad at this ourselves. This is something that, we need to take our 40 lashes over.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We're also, so small that we're fairly good friends with all of our actors and our staff. so we meet them in
Yeah.
person a lot.
But yeah, try to have at least monthly contact with your actors.
Yeah.
And that can include, we talked previously about off-season stuff, about how you can have barbecues and get-togethers.
Right.
Like that. Now
Movie
that we're coming
nights.
out of this COVID-ness,
Yes.
those things become a much more viable option.
Yeah.
So consider doing those things. Consider holding informal get-togethers. It doesn't cost
Yeah.
you a lot of money.
And especially outside, because some people are still uncomfortable going inside, especially with crowds.
Yeah, we're having
So do outside stuff.
we're having an issue with that now. The point of the parties we're going to got moved from outdoors to indoors.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some discomfort there, even though everyone in our circle is vaccinated.
Yeah.
So it's still some discomfort there. And you know what? I don't blame anyone.
No.
I don't, because we're all a little PTSD'd.
Right.
Now about
Exactly.
this. And you don't blame someone for their trauma, especially when they didn't, especially when it's a shared trauma that we all have been through.
Yeah.
But even just basic contact can do a great deal of keeping you in the front of mind. All right, communication during season. With your core team, nothing really changes.
No, because you should be in constant contact already.
You
We've
should
already
be in
installed that.
constant contact.
Yeah.
There's nothing that you need to do. However, with actors, your communication is going to ramp up.
Yeah.
You're going to go from communicating maybe once a month and sending a friendly greeting, how you doing, anything you need. Maybe we'll have a barbecue Sunday or whatever.
Yeah.
To now you're in constant contact about, here's your role, here's when you show up, here are the nights you're working.
Yeah.
Here's your zone captain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and make sure that you also go over with them emergency protocols and
Yeah.
whatever shared things so that they know exactly what to do if something goes wrong. Because it's super important.
Yeah. So you're going to be ramping up communication. And if you have a haunt that's bigger than about a dozen people,
Yeah.
and especially if you run a full season, 6 to 8 weeks, between 4 and 8 weeks, definitely consider getting a scheduling service of some time to help keep in contact with your employees and help organize who's working what nights and when.
Mm-hmm.
And there's hauntscheduler.com is the big one within the industry. A lot of major haunts use it.
Right.
And I know that because all of the sign-up pages are public, and you can actually just search for star.hauntscheduler.com in Google and literally see every haunt that uses it. I'm not kidding. It's super easy to do. Just search for the site hauntscheduler.com, and you'll see like a Dark Hour uses it.
Yeah.
They're a fairly big one, and so you've got all these haunts of different sizes using it, and you know what? They seem to love it. I've never used it. I've never touched the product. I can't confirm or say anything about it. But yeah, I think the fact so many haunts use it does speak highly to the service. It is a minimum of $250 a year on the low end.
Yeah.
So that may be a consideration. And
Yeah.
the higher tiers, which has probably the stuff that you will actually need, like makeup time and all that, it costs $450. So it can be pricey.
That is pricey.
But, if it's the industry targeted solution, and I know
Well,
as a small industry, we like our industry targeted solutions.
we do. And if you're big enough, that's not really that big of a percentage of your
No.
profit margin.
You'll theoretically make that up in about 20 ticket sales. I mean,
Yeah, and it saves you time and organization.
yeah.
And time is money.
And one of the things I do like about Haunt Scheduler is they have an included 20,000 text messages with all of their packages. So you can text your haunters, your actors directly through it.
That is nice to have one central place to go to see
Just
everything.
ping either everyone or just certain groups or whatever.
Yeah.
You can just do it that way. It's so easy. However, there are plenty of other services out there that may work just as well, because employee schedulers are very, very common.
Yeah.
They are very common. Haunt Scheduler, I think, is the only one really targeted at the haunt industry. But
Right.
there are plenty of general ones that may work just as well for your needs and may be more affordable. I don't know. I have not used one. Personally, I have not needed to. We are too small.
Yeah, I've used CRMs, which are customer relationship
Customer
management,
relationship,
but and I don't know if you could
Adapt to
use
CRM.
that. Yeah.
Maybe? I don't know. You
But-
probably find a way, but yeah, basically these are like CRMs, but for your own employees.
Exactly.
But basically, if you're going to use a system, I think it should have the following requirements. First, you have 2 ways to contact actors. Duh.
Yeah.
At least 2 ways. Email and text can usually be built into these things. So yeah, but basically make sure that you have 2 ways to contact every actor. Does not require actors to install an app. Remember, once again, seasonal, part-time job. People are not going to install apps and keep them year-round or keep them even through season. There's just, you can't count on that reliably.
Yeah.
If you're a full-time job and you're keeping them year-round, yeah, then you can probably force them to install things on their phone and compel them. But a seasonal part-time gig, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and there are some actors who will start to stand out and who will want to do more in following years. And you can make it optional to give them access to the core group's interface, whatever you're using.
Yeah.
And set up a separate group within there. Outstanding monsters or something.
Yeah. So yeah. You want the actors to be able to communicate back to you through the system. You want to allow actors to check in and check out through, because if you're going to have this system, you might as well use it as the time card functionality too, because it's one of the things it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And Haunt Scheduler, I do know, has that system built in. And ideally, you should be able to make announcements to all actors for things like safety meetings or, or any required functions that everyone has to be at, or any policy changes that impact all actors.
Right. Dress rehearsals, trainings of any kind.
Or like I said, if you have we're changing a policy about XYZ. Everyone needs to show up 15 minutes earlier today. We're getting into place too late.
Right.
So we're moving call time up 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Something like that. So yeah, you need a way to make those announcements. But find a system that works for you and meets your need. Don't necessarily, Haunt Scheduler does seem like it does all those things and is really good. But don't, get hung up on any one solution. Just look what's out there. There's tons of options. Find one that works for you.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing. But yeah, communication with actors should be at least weekly during season. You should be touching those actors every week, ideally a night or two before opening. So like if you do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, can touch base with them Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday. Or
exactly, just to confirm that they can. They're still on for that weekend, for the days they said. Nothing has exploded, because sometimes things happen, life happens, and it gets in the way.
And this is why you're going to want a tool like the Haunt Scheduler, because it automates a lot of this and streamlines it. Because if you have to do this yourself with your cell phone, you will probably go crazy.
Yeah, especially if you've got hundreds of people working for you.
Now, once again, a low-tech backup is always necessary.
Yeah, and, I think a scheduler not only would make it faster and save you time, but it may also save you money, because it's handling all the text charges and things. So
good. Yeah, but definitely, if you use a Haunt Scheduler or a scheduler of some type, don't rely upon it solely. Have a backup plan and have it in place.
Yeah.
This is an idea where the old-fashioned phone tree can be amazing. Management calls the zone captains or the zone managers. The zone managers call the people in their charge.
Right.
So basically, you have a tree where nobody is responsible for calling or contacting more than, say, 6 people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And that way, nobody's burden is that great. But with just a few tiers, you can easily get hundreds and hundreds of people contacted. But it's important to have a backup. I would put this in place, no matter how good your scheduler is, no matter how reliant you are on it. Having this as a backup contact tree is important. And people, I've never been involved in a haunt that actually had a phone tree implemented for this type of thing.
No, but it is a good idea, because so nightmare scenario is that the Haunt Scheduler just breaks. It stops working. And it's software, so it can. I had an online store for years, had hundreds of items, and the database got corrupted and the backup file didn't work, and, I had to close it.
Yeah, things happen. So having a low-tech backup,
and
having it in place, printed in your manual, who's in charge of what,
Mm-hmm.
It's such a simple thing to do, and when an emergency happens, it prevents the running around and freaking out.
Yes, and make sure that everyone knows their responsibilities if something does happen.
Yeah.
Because as we said last time, if it's everybody's responsibility, it's nobody's responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. All right, now for the fun one. Now for the real fun one. Communication while the haunt is open, because here, everything fucking breaks down.
It does.
Take all that stuff we just talked about and yeet it into a fire. It is dead. It is gone.
Yeah.
It is over. Because 90% plus of what we've been focusing on, understandably, have been cell phones. Cell phones are super ubiquitous. They are handy for communication.
Mm-hmm.
And they're, everyone has one, so therefore you have access to text messaging. You can rely upon those things and assume that everybody has it.
Mm-hmm.
But when the haunt's open, that is not true anymore.
Yeah.
Because you're not taking your phone out in the haunt, right? Right? Guys, you're not just going to be sitting around on the fucking phone when you're in the haunt, are you?
Well, no, you shouldn't be on the phone in the haunt, but lots of people let their actors keep it with them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how many times have we walked in on actors just screwing around on their phones in haunts? Too many.
Way too many. Way too many.
Yeah, so basically, actors are not going to have phones. They might have them available as on their person, but they will not be checking them, so you cannot count on phones for communication.
Yeah.
So basically, communication now has to be done either in person or via radio.
Yes.
Now, it's not practical to give every actor a radio.
It's not.
That would just create freaking chaos.
It would.
That would just be nuts.
Yeah.
So, what you do is what we were talking about previously. You set up a communication tree.
Right. And real quick, back on the communication tree, Ellie mentioned practice backing up your phone tree at least once during season. So
do a phone tree drill.
Exactly.
That's a hell of an idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, do a phone tree drill and...
Yeah, I know that every hurricane season I get, please update your emergency contact information. Make sure that it's up to date. So, yeah.
My boss doesn't do that.
Mine does.
My boss is just an asshole who doesn't care if I live or die in the hurricane. My boss is me.
Yes.
But yeah, seriously though, that the idea of doing a drill is a great idea. I think that is absolutely wonderful. And yeah, you absolutely should do that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So set up the communication tree.
Zone leaders carry radios and can receive messages.
Yes.
And basically, they are then responsible of passing along those messages to the actors in their area. That makes sense. That way, once again, no one has to reach out to more than like half a dozen or a dozen people. No one person's responsibility is too great. Everyone has a very manageable amount of people they have to keep contact with and forward the communications to. But yeah, they are responsible for that. And this works for most communication. If it doesn't have to be transmitted immediately,
right?
Like we're not dealing with an emergency situation that needs immediate attention.
Yeah.
Then this is fine. Now, ideally, zones will be more or less self-sufficient.
Yes.
There should be not much need for communication.
Right.
Hopefully. Cross your fingers.
Yeah.
Because zone leaders should be able to grant breaks and slide into those roles because they're also backup actors.
Yeah, and make sure that when you're training your zone managers that you train them how to give breaks. Because we've seen that come up and created like huge lines at haunts because they forgot to give their actors breaks and then they gave everybody the break at the same time.
Everyone's dead. And
yeah.
And the thing about it is, like, and then I know the haunt you're thinking about. The problem there was it took them about 10 minutes to get out of pocket and into the break area. Then they spent 15 minutes in the break area. Then it took them another 10 minutes plus to get back in place. And then it took a few more minutes for them to notify the people up front that they were ready. So you had like a 45-minute window there when it was all done of just nothing happening. No one going into the haunt.
Yeah.
And we were at the very front of the fucking line, too. That was just a piss off.
Yeah. But that was, a
That's a lesson
problem
learned.
that could, yes, exactly. They took that into account and have they now train their managers about how to do breaks properly.
And one of the things, like I said, if you're a zone manager, one of the best things you can do is force your actors to take breaks. Actors will say, "Oh, I'm not tired. I don't need a break. I'm fine. I'm having fun." No, you need to take a break. You need to rest, especially if you're running a long shift. Like if you're doing a 6 to 7 hour shift in a haunt, you need those breaks. You need to get food. You need to get water. You need to not be physically doing this.
Yeah, and also if it's a slow night, the zone manager can say, okay, you can take your water out now, but also have a thing, when people show up, to say, hey, everybody get back in place now.
Yeah, and that's the next thing, actually.
Sorry.
But no, set up the communication tree and have the zones be self-sufficient as possible. People higher up should only be involved in emergency situations.
Yeah.
Basically, hopefully, nothing goes so wrong that it actually requires someone from management to be there. But obviously it will, because that's life. Something's going to break that the zone manager can't fix. Or there's going to be a problem customer that needs to get ejected. Stuff like that. So something is going to happen. But the ideal is that it never would, obviously.
Yeah.
That said, you're still going to need a way to communicate with the whole haunt, especially if there's an emergency. Obviously, you're going to have a fire alarm system because we are all fire code compliant, right?
We should be.
Should be. But what about other type of emergencies? What happens if someone has a heart attack? What happens if someone gets injured in the other way?
Yeah.
This is where a loudspeaker system that can be used to contact the whole haunt is very handy. You already probably have a pretty good sound system in there.
Right.
The ability to overtake that sound system and give messages is important. And a lot of haunts do not think to put that in.
Yeah. And, I know that a lot of haunts do have the master switch to turn on all the house lights.
Yep, that's tied into the fire alarm system.
Yeah. So in case of an emergency, you turn on all the house lights, and then you put this message out over your speakers so that everybody's aware that there is a situation that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah. Please stay where you are, or please, if you're in this area, leave this area.
Yeah.
Whatever. Just tell people, actors and customers, what to do. This is an important thing of communication, and I'm always surprised that a lot of haunts don't have an easy way to do this.
Yeah. I can't count the number of times that we've seen something.
I've been in a haunt where a medical emergency happened in the group in front of me.
Yeah.
And literally, it fell on the actors in that room to try to get us out. Now, we ended up realizing the situation, and we turned and we joined the actors.
Yeah.
And got everyone out of that room.
Yes.
So we haunter's instinct. Oh shit, something's wrong. Get everybody get the fucking back.
Yeah. Exactly.
And poor actor was struggling. He was wearing this heavy mask and barely hear him anyway.
Yeah, so he had broken character, but he couldn't take off the prosthetic that he was wearing.
He had so much stuff on him, he
Yeah.
couldn't take it off.
And that's something you've got to keep in mind is when you're putting these actors in these positions where they have to make those calls, they're going to have to be able to respond and communicate with your customers if something happens.
Now, one of the more common problems that haunts have, especially if they're having slow nights, how do you notify actors someone is in the haunt? Well, give your ticket booth or front of house a radio.
Yeah.
Use the same tree. Use the same structure. And now one thing that may be a problem if the haunt is very long. Like you've got a haunt that's, say, 20 minutes long, saying, hey, we got someone going in, may not be very useful to the people who are in the later scenes.
Right.
Because that person may not make it there for 15 minutes. They may have plenty of time to go on break.
Yeah, or, the person may chicken out. They may get too scared and leave.
So one of the things that is difficult, but every haunt seems to handle this differently, is to find ways to send signals of where people are in the haunt, roughly.
Right.
Sometimes it could be as simple as a loud prop. I'll never forget the shake and bake electric chair, and now that was our guide for where people were.
Yes.
Sometimes, but you can also use laser tripwires, signal lights, and things like that too.
Yeah.
Because if you're not having a steady flow of humanity,
right,
then yeah, you need to let people know where the customers are in the haunt. And this is just something you have to think about. Obviously, you can radio and let the first few sections know someone's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the people that are further back, they don't know if that group is just tore off and went Usain bolting through the haunt,
Right.
and is going to get through it all in 5 seconds, or are they, slow and going to be there in 15 minutes?
Yeah.
So that's where those additional
Yes.
cues
Are they
so
us
helpful.
and looking at everything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So think about that as you're building and try to find ways to signal to actors that someone is 2 rooms ahead.
Yeah. And I would, if for some reason this communication fails and actors get caught off guard by people entering, train your actors how to deal with that.
Yeah.
Because I cannot tell you the number of times we have been blamed and yelled at for being too quiet going through the haunt.
Yeah. And literally, like, it's our fault for being the paying customer.
Exactly. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, like, we've been treated hostilely for walking in on people when they were screwing around.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, we're just walking. I'm wearing my heavy boots.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly the stealthiest person in the world.
You are not.
So, yeah, I don't know. But anyways, yeah, train actors on how to handle that. If you get caught out of pocket, the best advice I can give you is go for the joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've
Much
lost
better.
The opportunity to scare is gone.
Yeah.
But you can entertain.
Exactly.
So focus on entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
And just remember that throughout the night, whenever you're open, everyone's communication role needs to be explained and spelled out very, very carefully. Where are they in the communication chain or the tree? What is their purpose? Who are they responsible for contacting? What do they have to do?
Mm-hmm.
What are their exact jobs? Spell it out. Let everyone know who is responsible for what. Let everyone know where they should be getting their information from. If they're not responsible for communication, they should know who is responsible for feeding them information.
Right.
And basically have backups in place. Radios die. Systems break. Be thinking about what happens if this piece of technology that, it's super reliable, what if it stops working?
Right.
What if, the radios, like a lot of the radios die, like the charger just didn't work one night. And so the radios are starting the night with low battery.
Yeah. And if you have an app that you have to sign into in order to access the messages and communication that you're sending out, see how long it takes to do a reset password. Because I cannot tell you the number of times I have had to wait overnight because the system that was in place was that they only worked business hours.
Yeah.
So
yeah, good point. But yeah, never just assume word will get around on its own organically. No. It doesn't happen.
No.
Someone always gets left out. But if everyone knows what their job is and who they're supposed to contact and who they're supposed to hear from, it goes a lot smoother and it makes it much less likely someone's going to get missed.
Yes.
Well, that's everything. So, that's a lot. But yeah, a lot of the same principles. Have backups, spell out everyone's roles clearly, and find the best tools for the job. I think that's really what a lot of it comes down to. But on that note, question of the week this week, should we restart the conference reminders? It seems like people are saying yes.
We have 2 yeses and 1
Yeah.
So Greg Packard said, yes, restart the conference reminders. And so did Victor Ruelas. And Pete Blackwell said there's never one near him, so it doesn't really it doesn't matter. Yeah, doesn't apply.
There's not really one near us anymore now that HauntCon moved.
Yeah, so you may decide to travel to one.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I'm looking forward to hopefully going to a, probably it won't be until 2022, but I'm hoping to go to a haunted attraction event.
Yeah.
I would like to go to one. I don't know which one yet. I'm probably not going to do HauntCon just because we've done it so many times.
Yeah, and this year it's in Vegas.
Yeah, it's Vegas.
Or 2022.
I don't remember.
I think it's January 2022.
It's in January, so
yeah.
It'll be 2022. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't actually looked where it's going to be.
Yeah, I think that... I don't know either.
I don't know.
Well, we'll have to update our conference reminders and get back on that.
I think if I'm being honest about where I'm leaning toward the idea of doing them, but only on news weeks. That way they don't get super repetitive.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Okay. Well, we'll run with that as a temporary thing, but please let us know your thoughts. Continue to do so at all the usual places. You can find more of us at hauntweekly.com, Haunt Weekly on Twitter, Haunt Weekly on Facebook, youtube.com/hauntweekly is the YouTube channel. You can leave comments there if you want to answer the question of the week there. You can also catch us at Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever finer podcasts. So I gotta stop saying iTunes. It's not iTunes anymore. It's the Podcasts app. Because Apple had to go and make it boring. I still think of it as iTunes. I still call it iTunes on my computer, but it's not.
Well, yeah, and, podcast is very generic, and iTunes is Apple branded.
Yeah. But you can get wherever you get your podcast, you can find us there. And once again, join us every Sunday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, as we record these live, though not next week. We're skipping that one.
Yeah.
Skipping the live recording, that is.
Right.
We're not skipping the episode. We're skipping the live recording.
Yes.
But every other Sunday at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, Facebook.com/HauntWeekly. We do it live. Be a part of the show. Get involved. Well, until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this was episode 293 of Haunt Weekly, talking about communication for haunters. We will see you all next week, not live, but in pre-recorded and recorded version, as we cover something else. I have no idea what. We'll see you all then.